We have a delegation tonight. And 3.5, we're talking about downtown parking. Okay, I should point out to the guests, this is not a regular council meeting. So only at regular council meetings do we actually make decisions. The committee of the whole meeting is primarily an opportunity for us to discuss topics. And then if we need to make a decision, we make them the following week. We meet every Tuesday, but we alternate between committee of the whole and regular town council. Okay, entertain a motion to adopt the agenda as amended. I have no idea. They're registered with the clerk. That's good enough for me. Moved by Councillor Minderlang. All those in favor of the agenda? Carried. Would the spokesperson for the delegation please come to the front? And Shanda will show you how to operate the microphone. And if you really like yourself, you can watch yourself on either TV. Go ahead.
Good evening, Mayor and Council members. Thank you for giving me the opportunities to speak today. We appreciate your time, taking the time and hear our concerns. So I am at RGM at Pizza Hut, and I have my colleagues with me, and I represent workers, business owners, and managers who live and work in this rural community. Many of us have chosen to live here despite being more than 400 kilometers from any major cities. Our concern is that the pause on endorsement is creating serious staffing shortages of local business, especially in essential sector as retail, hospitality, service that keep this community running. So as you all know that rural renewal stream from Slave Lake, which operates that has stopped issuing endorsement letters. Now I seek your help to make our case that in Slave Lake, they start issuing the endorsement letters. As you all know, rural communities already face challenges attracting and retaining workers. Unlike larger cities, we do not have a large local labor pool to draw from. Lifting this pause on endorsement would allow businesses to continue operating sustainability and plan for the future. These workers are already part of the community. They rent houses here, shop locally, and contribute positive to the town. Removing the pause would not only support businesses today, but also help stabilize the community for long term. We have also signed a petition from major businesses that are favored in removing the endorsement pause. The petition process is still ongoing, and we continue to receive strong support from the businesses community, which reflects how important this issue at a local level. Also, most of us are relocated from different parts of the country and have been working in this community for past 6 to 12 months. By the time our employer were prepared to support us with the endorsement, the program was paused, leaving many of us in very uncertain positions. Some individuals are already left. However, some of us are still remain, and with work permit timeline approaching for people, we respectfully ask Council to consider supporting those who are currently living and working in this community with endorsement letter. Thank you.
Thank you very much. The topic of the rural renewal stream has come up, so we're not, we are familiar with it. So I'm now going to go around the table and ask the councillors if they have any comments, starting with Councillor Minderlang. Councillor Hanlon?
Well, I thought it was just the new workers coming in that was paused. I didn't realize that it was current workers.
So the pause affects everybody. Those who does not have endorsement letter, who's already here, who's working here, and not just only Indian community. even in Filipino community, Moroccan community, any community, they can get new endorsement letter because it's been paused by Slave Lake.
Counselor Temple? Shunter?
I think it was your group that emailed me and I responded and I gave you guys a little bit of a background on what's going on. I'm an improved employer through the program. I've sponsored employees through the program. The issue is not with Slave Lake stopping their issues, no longer issuing letters. The issue is that the province has a cap on the number of people that can flow through the program, and there's this massive backlog. I have an employee that's been waiting over a year. So his endorsement letter was issued, I guess, 11 months ago, so almost a year. And that he's still waiting for his turn at the provincial level to receive his permanent residency, right? So it's not a problem that Slave Lake is not issuing letters. The problem is that the province has a cap on the number of people. It's the next step. After the letter is issued, you take your letter to the province, and when there's availability, the province issues your permanent residency, right? That's the backlog, is at the provincial level. But
That's an excellent argument. But how I understand right now the program is going is that once you issue an endorsement letter, you are going into a pool of expression of interest level. And when the Alberta decides to invite some of the people in rural renewal stream, then they will get picked, then their file gets processed and it goes to federal level, and then they get their permanent residency. Right now, there is 1,000 slots for the rural renewal stream for this year. And in the process, there are less than 10 files being processed for the rural renewal stream. However, if there is no draw, you'll be in the full pool forever. But to get into the pool, you need endorsement letter. And that has been paused by Slave Lake.
Actually, I have a question on this, and it's directed to Counselor Chunder. Why did the Alberta government, see, it's the Alberta government, not Slave Lake, that's put the limit on it. Why did the Alberta government put a limit on it?
I don't know the answer to that.
There's no, I've never heard any.
No, there's a cap to the number of people that qualify. And, you know, one of the issues and what I experienced is after the endorsement letter, my employee went on to the province, like you say, and then because he's waited a year for the province, now his temporary permit has ran out. So now I have to go out and get a LEMA so he can stay in the country, right? So it doesn't make a ton of sense to issue all these endorsement letters if nothing's happening after that. The endorsement letter doesn't give you permanent residency. It's the next step that gives you permanent residency, and it's that next step that takes so long, right? So you don't want to issue a bunch of endorsement letters and spend a bunch of money and resources on that, and then ends up that all these temporary permits run out and everybody has to go home before they get their permanent residency, right?
Excellent argument. But if you have an endorsement letter, at least you have a fighting chance, which some of them don't have. And if you get invite in federal level, like after provincial, you can apply for bridging gap open work permit or employee specified work permit without having an LMIA. There are programs available to get a work permit while your permanent residency is in progress. But until then, I mean, if people don't have fighting chance, they're gonna go to Edmonton or Vancouver and live there rather than staying in the community, right? Because essentially their work permit gonna run out.
Okay, Counselor, no, Counselor Minderline, back to you.
Thanks. Yeah, one of the reasons I asked to pause, I just want to get some of the background information because I'm not that familiar with this. Though I do remember the numbers being cut by the province, and that's causing a hiccup all over the province, especially on the rural side, because this, I believe, is not just the commercial end of it, but also the farm labor pool that comes into the province also from outside of Canada, which I'm familiar with, having worked in the county before. And I can see where this is going to be a problem all over. Now, I guess we could check to see with the endorsement letters what was actually coming out from Slave Lake And because just to endorse somebody blindly, I have a problem with that. And I'm not sure what you're putting into it. Is it saying that there's jobs in the town, or is it saying that I know this person and he's a great person and we're willing to take him into our community? And to Bryce? Yeah.
What is the endorsement letter?
So
What is its weight?
the process of obtaining an endorsement letter, in my case, the employee works for me for a period of time. We get to know him, we trust him, we know he's a good worker, he fits in the role. We advertise his job to prove that there's not a permanent resident or Canadian who's available to do the job. No job applicants or no qualified job applicants. Then we take the evidence of that and we go to Slave Lake and we say, hey, we'd like to keep this individual here working for us. It's more of the employer that endorses the employee, even though Slave Lake is writing the endorsement letter.
So this is the town of Slave Lake, not there isn't a separate board there or something like that for these endorsement letters, or is it the town?
It's a program that's run by the municipality.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
CAO?
Yeah, there has been an update since November 18th. So effective January 1st, 2026, the Alberta Advantage Immigration Program will implement changes to the rural renewal stream. Any applications received on or after this date will be subject to the new criteria. And the changes include establishment of endorsement allocation limits for each designated community. And I have seen nothing here what our limit would be here in High Prairie. Introduction of a one-year validity period for the endorsement of candidate letters. Implementation of a tier-based endorsement model, and changing eligibility for foreign nationals within Canada to require them to have a valid work permit at the time of application and assessment. So that's all I have as far as an update.
Perhaps you could share that link with this gentleman.
I'll do that.
I need to point out that your concerns aren't brand new to us. For instance, the retail Friesens Market has the same issues, has brought them up, not to council, but to individual councillors. We're at a little bit of a loss as to why the Alberta government is behaving this way. And we're not really in a position to get much further than you are. Okay, but with this link, I hope you'll get something. And by raising the topic, it'll start more discussions around us, and we'll see if there's anything we can do. We are planning some economic development meetings with various ministers, hopefully, and this sounds like an issue that we might add to the list.
We'll be meeting with the Minister of Municipal Affairs at the end of March, I believe, and we'll bring up a topic like this, or this topic, certainly. Okay.
We're only allowed 3 topics, so there's a little bit of a jostling for topics that we haven't decided yet. Okay, is there anything else you'd like to add?
No, thank you. All I want is please bring this our issue to town of Slave Lake, and hopefully they can lift the pause. That's it.
Yeah, again, it's not Slave Lake that's got the cap on things, okay? It's the Alberta government that's got the cap on things. Slave Lake is capped like the rest of the province. Okay? Thank you very much for coming, and thanks for bringing your delegation with you.
I will let my my manager of finance guide us through this.
It's very true.
No, Shanda's very knowledgeable. She created this and I've appreciated all the work she's put into it.
So what you see in the first, well, page 3, is a summary of the budget. What I like to do is show the deficit that we have, so you can see exactly what kind of a tax implication that we're looking at. Wendy, can you put this on the TVs? So I'll just make this bigger. So I use this tracking sheet here to determine what the tax implication will be. So right now, with $130,000 deficit, we have a 3.2% tax implication. So I like to 3.2. So I've done some, after getting the new policing costs, I've gone through the budget again and tried to bring expenses down even more,
And the additional peace officer.
and the additional peace officer. So I've combed through the entire budget again and tweaked more where I could to try and bring that tax implication down. Go ahead. I think it would flow well with questions.
Just two things. I know we have the 2024 budget. It'd be nice if we had the 2024 actuals in there to see how the budget performed next to that, but that's just a thought. The other thing is when you mentioned the increased peace officer, not peace officer, cost for the policing, what portion of that $130,000 is attributable to the province under the policing? 37,000. Is that what it was? 37 added?
If you go into the next pages where it kind of
Okay.
highlights the variances between each one, business and training, professional services. I know it's in here. So that you can see the addition of the third peace officer under salary and benefits. And then for the RCMP, does that work? Okay.
Oh,
Yes, so the increase in policing cost, 39,
where's that page?
Thousand.
What page is that?
page 6,
6? Thank you. Okay, yes.
under contracted and
Yep.
general services.
$39,000.
So I do have a summary page that has actuals that I can provide to you as well. So we 22 actuals, 23 and 24.
Oh, okay,
And I'm working on updating 2025.
okay.
So bottom line, if you wanted to see 24. Oh, that don't work. I don't know if you can see that from where you're at.
Okay. That's waste time. For actuals, okay, yeah. Now, this actuals, that would have been 2024, is there an adjustment made before the audit finished off there? Because sometimes there is where there's money taken and pushed into something that's for the surplus or reduces the surplus and makes it, puts it somewhere else.
These are the numbers after
After the
audit.
audit adjustments.
Yeah,
That includes any,
yeah. Yes.
Okay. all right, let's do the double check on that. And then I would appreciate if, as we go through, if there's anything in there that's provincially attributable, That's probably into this, what your notes in there somewhere, is it? Or is it,
Just like the downloading from the
Yeah.
province and stuff, yeah.
how much of that? Okay.
I can include that
Yeah,
going
just so we can sort of
forward.
track that and
Yep.
make that known and talk to our provincial counterparts.
Just give me a second here. So you're not gonna see too many, well, there is changes from the last time, but where I really was able to cut back in the expense side was, utilities. So I went through, the prior year, five-year averages, page 6. And was able to bring that down quite a bit. So you got $72,000 favorable. So that kind of helped in bringing that deficit down. Well, so it says page 5 in the middle, but in the bottom corner, bottom right corner, it says page 6. Yeah.
The
Do you want me to? Because we did walk through. Sure. Yep. So we'll start then on page 4. Under revenue. $453,000 favorable. You'll see property taxes, 7K unfavorable, and that's just because the completion of a sanitary sewer frontage tax in 2025 was completed in 2025. So we won't be taking that in anymore. Government operating grants, our FCSS funding has increased. An increase in a carried forward grant for the fire department. Utility user fees. So the implementation of the higher water charges for over 50 cubes used has increased that revenue, and an increase in bulk water sales, and then other slight increases across all departments. User fees, 105K favorable. That contributes to that is the First Nations user agreements for the recreation facilities. We've had increase in memberships for the rec facilities, and based on the 5-year average and implementation of the arena memberships. Increase in course and programs and lessons run by recreation. Increase in Superior Safety Code fees, which is something we will talk about in the fee review. Proposed increase in a flat rate for waste collection to cover GFL bill. Equipment fees for servicing county for sewer cleanup, and the ATCO franchise fee. Rental revenue has gone up 18K favorable, so that includes ice rentals to approach prior 3-year average. An increase in office rental revenue upon implementation of increased fees. Fines, penalties, and licenses. General accounts receivable adjusted to match a 3-year average. Business license fees recommended to increase. An increase in tax penalties based on a 5-year average. Regional funding transfers, so that is based on the county pays 50% of the net deficit for fire and recreation. Other revenue, so the recycling extended producer responsibility program revenue is new, and other slight increases across all departments. Draw from reserves, so we added a draw from reserves for the gas meter replacement that we had discussed at a previous committee of the whole after. It is a capital. When discussing with David, we discussed that it would be a capital expense, but why it's been in the operating budget for so long is it's not something that we can pick and choose whether we want to do it that year or not. We are mandated by Measurement Canada that we will have to replace a certain amount of meters that have met their time, right? So what we were doing is drawing that amount from reserves to offset that. And going forward, we will probably put it in the capital budget with the understanding that it's not something we can say, no, we're not doing this year. Expenses, 583,000 unfavorable. So you'll see salaries, wages, and benefits. So with the market adjustment, cost of living adjustment, grid progressions, the addition of the full-time museum, we put director in here, unsure of what it was going to be called at the time. Benefit premiums increased and employer contribution increased from 65 to 69%, and addition of a third peace officer salary and benefits. That is correct.
This assumes the cost of living will be approved by council?
So
Does it still say?
we did build it into the budget. Yeah, and we built it in at 2.2%. So council expenses, the increase in council honorariums, business and training. So we removed some of the one-time projects included in the 2025 budget to upgrade security systems. Removal of the election expenses for the 2026 budget, and decrease in postage due to signing more ratepayers up for email billing with the constant Canada Post strike that we've had to deal with. Professional services, we decreased engineering fees to reflect a 5-year average. Decrease in auditor fees due to improvement of continuity schedules and other requested information, and other small decreases across all departments. Rentals and leases, there was an increase due to a new photocopier lease agreement as our previous was up for renewal. Contracted and general services, so that's where the increase in policing costs fits in. And we do still have to pay Meston Group for the recycling services, but we get money back from circular materials.
So we actually have a surplus in that EPR program, which is nice for the next year or two. It may even out in years 3 and 4, but right now we have a surplus.
It's under other revenue on page 5. Supplies and materials, there were slight decreases across all departments. Repair and maintenance, so increase in gas meter repair and maintenance as we are mandated by Measurement Canada. Increase in building repairs due to aging infrastructure. Reallocation of funding to contracted repairs, and a decrease in water mains and service repair and maintenance based on a 5-year average, and other small decreases across all departments. Utilities, electricity and natural gas costs were reduced to reflect prior 5-year average trend. municipal operating grants. So museum expenses were absorbed by the town and no grant is required. The library is requesting a grant increase of 9.8%. I did add in the STARS grant funding as an additional $6,000, and the removal of the tax relief grant. So previous years, they were just allocating, it was four or five grand right out of the $30,000 for the community grant funding. So in this one, I'm adding it as an extra $6,000. Other expenses, so the carbon tax was rescinded and reinstatement of full funding for provincial property taxes.
Is it full this year?
It is full this year. This year is full. And then the contributions to reserves, which we have increased for 2026.
And then, yeah, even though it shows 306 unfavorable, actually it's a positive thing because with the generating additional revenue and reducing expenses, we have more surpluses in the various departments that we can transfer into reserves.
Just the one. Regarding the taxes, that includes social housing? The taxes, the property taxes on the social housing?
No, this is for their buildings, the provincial buildings, not the social housing.
Okay, so there's nothing there from the province, because we do pay for the street maintenance on the areas where those houses are. We do pay for the stuff for the residents that are in there, the same as we do for every other residents. So the province is still deciding to thumb their noses at us, and that's just me, it's my feeling. I don't respect the council, but I just did want to know if that was or wasn't. So they're making part of their ownership, but not all of it. Is that correct?
This specific, it's called GPOT, so grants in lieu of property taxes. I would have to find more information on the social housing itself to provide you, but these are buildings such as the provincial building and the courthouse.
I can add a bit to it because I wasn't here at the time. And so, yeah, it did come out of both provincial governments. It wasn't just the NDP or the UCP. One proposed and the other one approved it. But this was at the time, and all the municipalities and AB Muni and RMA and everybody in the world complained about it, but the province just said, live with it.
So the first one you'll see is the tracking sheet, which I have up on the TVs here, which shows our base budget deficit. And as council makes decisions, we use this to track the tax implication. So if you were to decide today that you wanted to drop the reserves by 130,000, well, we can have a 0% tax implication. So that's just what that sheet is telling you. The next one just shows you other core programs that are included in the budget, such as FCSS, the seniors transportation, museum, airport, the library, the Peace Library System membership that we pay for, the grants to organizations and sponsorship, and the bursary. We pay that to Big Lakes County. And they had requested last year that we increase our funding. So you'll see it's gone from 10,000 from previous years to 36. And that was, I don't think it's on population, but I think it's based on ridership, where most of their ridership was coming from. They had made a presentation to the previous council. From what am aware, it was in a closed session. So I don't have all the information, but I do have a sheet that I had received from CAO David Reynolds, which kind of broke down their revenue and expenses for that particular service.
Is the seniors transportation part of the FCSS program? Is that the same bus? So they bought a new bus last year. Or the year before, I don't remember. But
Anyway,
yeah.
With the transportation, and I notice I see it quite often when I'm in Slave Lake or whatever, I'll see the county bus or whatever and seeing people that are from town, they get off in Walmart in the No Frills. So this is eating away from our retail business here in town. And if we're gonna then pay for that to have people go somewhere else to do their shopping, I have a problem. I have one thing if it's a medical requirement or something that they're going for, but if this is going shopping runs, I think, and especially in light of when we do at our, library or whatever else, and they talk about our budget and they need to say they want to get an input into it. We have had no input into this as far as I know, other than the fact that here's the bill, please increase it too. And I think that's a problem.
I agree with the spirit of your concern. Reluctant to create a barrier to saving on your taking it food cheap, slave pay, compared to the prices we're paying here. Maybe I'm biased being 82 this year. Good for 'em.
The previous council did have a lot of discussion with the county. So this issue, and it was found, I mean, I guess as much information as they could find out, most of it is for medical and other kind of visits. But yes, people do go to Walmart or Canadian Tire, but a lot of those products that are in Walmart and Canadian Tire, well, except for the food, is not found here, except in home hardware also. But I understand the concerns, but this is fully discussed and approved by the previous council, and it's already built into the county's budget also. So I wouldn't think, in the good spirit of collaboration and cooperation, that we should back out of this. But we'll understand. Yeah.
So I actually was able to go through my email real quick, and I did find what they had provided us for calculations. And this was back in April of 2025. So I think what had happened with the previous council is they basically said, well, they just picked the number 26,000 to add. Yeah, so half of the 51 is 25,981. And they basically said, well, we'll pay half of that.
There. Justification for Whenever I hear that phrase, I think, yeah.
But-
4-to-1 basis.
but-
We'll go ahead.
Yeah.
And
Well,
if
we
I could
have,
just say, it's not affecting our taxes, it's affecting our taxpayers, and there's, to have a 4-to-1 affecting our taxpayers compared to theirs, then that's where I have a problem, because then I look at each person, and I can see where some people may get a little upset with it.
well, you know, the intermunicipal collaborative framework hasn't been finalized yet. And I know council wants to do both councils want to do a council to council in-person meeting. So this would be a good topic brought up diplomatically and worthy of discussion. I mean, yes, and I take the. But there's nothing wrong with bringing up our concern this way, because yeah, they have much larger budget, lots in reserves. And I have teased them about this. So it's, anyway, just let you know.
So you'll see on page 9, the reserve contributions from 24, 25, and 26, just showing that we've been gradually increasing those reserves.
A huge capital
Mhm.
investment is always anticipated. Do we have to have all of these?
No, we,
Just a way to.
yeah, no, we don't. I know in Fort St. John that we had so many reserves, fragmented, segmented, if you will. And what we decided to do was consolidate all the capital reserves into one. And with the appreciation of where all this money is coming from in case, you know, a particular project of a particular department needed to be done. But nonetheless, I agree. I mean, we could consolidate. That's up to council, and it's the council. Yeah. Mm-hmm. 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 Yep.
It just provides you with additional information that's important to decision making. If it doesn't, let's not fragment all of this stuff. If it does, that's fine.
Mm-hmm.
I don't, I'm not the one who's making decisions.
Yeah, like it's totally up to council how they want to proceed with this. I like it this way, but that's okay.
Actually, that's good enough.
Then I know specifically, say we wanted to get a columbarium for the cemetery. Well, we have money allocated to the cemetery to do such a project. And I believe in the past, they did try and consolidate from what I was told, and it turned into a bit of a mess. So
Yeah, and the same thing is when we put money aside into a reserve, and at one time I can remember where municipalities actually did a bylaw for each reserve, and they had a bylaw reserve, and they identified what the purpose of the reserve was and how it was to be funded. And I like it where it says that it's at least for water or for roads. Sometimes I'm not necessarily just say whatever's surplus at the end of the year. I know in some municipalities, let's say they'll take water reserve and they put it right into their monthly fee and have a certain portion of their monthly fee it's allocated directly to the reserve or for the gas or for the roads. And that way, it's the taxpayer can see what actually their money's going to. But just to say that by identifying we're here more than just something that's wide open, we know what it's for.
Actually, I would support that. Future investment is.
So I'm not 100% sure here, and so I need clarification. So this reserve contribution for 2026, is this for operating this year? Or is this going into a fund for some future project needed? And if so, where's the total amount that we have sitting in these accounts right now?
So this is not for operating, this is basically to go into a savings account for projects. On the capital approval that we did, that sheet did have where each one was at, and we would took those approved projects out and what the total would be at the bottom.
Yeah, when you approve the capital program.
So these are essentially special savings for special. The total right now.
You're just contributions.
Fortunately, Council Minderline had just taken another film off the discussion, because you're right, this is the contribution. Yes. But it doesn't tell us how much is there, if this contribution is sufficient or overly generous for the project being contemplated. I don't know if we have time to get to that tonight. I think it's topic worthy of examining perhaps 2 weeks.
Mhm.
Keep going. All right. Slide for the next 20 pages.
So this is the recommended fee changes that we actually had done at the previous committee of the whole. Nothing's changed. It's just the same document. But I need to know if you guys would like to proceed with some of these so we can start implementing them. I did put it on bigger paper so that you can see it a little better.
Go through these. Check mark next to one, you have questions about. You've seen it before, so it's not totally full. Mhm.
Yeah. Something wrong with our photocopier or printer?
Um, The first time we discussed this, I thought we discussed dropping the business license fee, not raising it. But if somebody could refresh my memory there. I think we did, yeah. FOIP isn't a thing anymore. It's access to information. I don't think we can call it a FOIP request, can we? Because FOIP doesn't exist.
That will change.
Yeah.
Just, this is how the current. I know we discussed it, but I don't know decisions were actually made.
Yeah.
What's the total revenue?
As it stands currently, an extra 7,000.
That's sizable. And then development fees. And I just want to share a mindset that I don't even know if I agree with myself on, but let's discuss it. Does everybody know what a loss leader is? I'm going to compare this to retail. So in retail, a loss leader is something that you put on sale for below cost and it gets people through the door. So if I sell a bag of garden soil for less than what I paid for it, I lose some money on that garden soil, but most people that come in and buy that garden soil are going to buy some flowers and some fertilizer to go with it. And in the long run, I'm going to make some money, right? So I'm wondering if there's an argument for the development fees to drop them or make them nothing, because how special would it be if we said, hey, build a house in High Prairie, we don't charge development fees. We're the only municipality in Northern Alberta that doesn't charge development fees. What's the argument against that?
What's the anticipated?
I don't think we built any houses in High Prairie last year, so revenue from this would be zero, wouldn't it?
We had approximately 28 development permits go through the door for 2025.
I'm only talking about new development. I'm not talking about renovations or putting a garage up. I'm talking about somebody builds a house in town, right?
Yeah.
Okay, comment with that is, the fact is that even though we asked for a permit, they have to have a permit. Whether you charge a cost or not, that's what we're discussing. The idea of a cost is we do have cost for that that's involved. Our association with the development firm, the MMSA, Mackenzie Municipal, anytime they work on a file, that costs money. Anybody who has the development permit in, if they have to go in front of the board, that costs the board costs for running that board for their development. Likewise, if they have an appeal, there's a cost to the appeals to the town. And to say that we don't need revenue from that, then we're going to tell you the taxpayers have to then cover the costs that's associated with doing this. And I have a problem with that. Again, put the cost where it belongs, and that's the builder, the contractor. On $100 for a development permit for a house, when you look at what it costs you for the cost of an architect, let's say, it's nothing. It's a drop in the bucket. And actually, even the cost of what we do for it, it probably doesn't cover it in some cases.
When we went through the MMSA budget, it was a fixed cost, not a variable cost. So that might have changed since you worked with them. But no, like I say though, what's the loss leader? You make the argument that it's such a small drop in the bucket, but those little small drops in the bucket, people don't look at the big picture. They look at the, when people compare about the cost of living in town versus living in the county, they don't look at the cost of gas and the wear and tear on their vehicle and all the other things that go with living out of town. They just look at the property tax, right? Property tax is more. I'm gonna go live where property tax is less, and they don't take into account that, oh, now my gas bill every month is up $200.
If I may, Your Worship, to counter that though, is if we're there to our saying that we're worried about the taxpayers' taxes going up by taking these fees out of the revenue stream, it therefore puts taxes up automatically because the money still has to come from somewhere.
We collected zero in fees though last year. There was zero new
For
development
houses.
in town. Yeah, that's what I'm suggesting.
Zero.
He's talking about new house.
I'm talking about new house construction. I'm not talking about somebody renovating their house and pulling a plumbing permit or somebody putting up a garage in their backyard. I'm talking about new development. There was zero revenue for new development permits last year. So dropping the fees to zero, there's going to be zero revenue for this year. I I think what's the word I'm looking for? Subsidizing, incentivizing new development. Yeah, it's a small upfront cost, but a new house in town will continue to pay taxes for the next 50 years. So a taxpayer pays a little bit upfront, but on year 3 you break even, and after that it's additional tax revenue that goes to paying for a rink or whatever else, right? That's why we want economic development, right? More tax revenue.
Again, I keep saying, if we don't take it from somebody, we have to take it from our taxpayers. And we nickel and dime our taxpayers to death with everything we do charge them already. The other thing is, if we're talking just about a temporary reduction on the house development, a home, building of a home, for a temporary hiatus or whatever, 3 years or something like that, I'm okay with that, as long as the rest of them aren't being dropped. But the other thing it also does.
Sentence that I can understand. Take the word hiatus out.
Okay. Dropping it for 3 years as a means of encouraging building of homes. I could see that. You have to be careful how much we're incentivizing everything, because they're also talking of taxes on a new place. And we're drawing saying it's going to gear that in over a period of time. We're going to take this, give this to them and give this. And all of a sudden you're giving away the farm. I'm sorry. Yeah.
So, David, didn't previous council approve some development?
Yes. Yeah, the grant.
It was over 4 years.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, 4 years, yeah.
I'd like to take a look at the entire incentive package.
Okay.
And make sure that it makes sense. I mean, when you put things into the package item by item, you don't necessarily get the policy coherence that you'd like to have. But let's get a
Okay.
single sheet out and let's say, okay, what's the package? So we can go to developers and say, this is the 5-year incentive package, or the 3 or the 4. Make sure that everything fits into the time frame.
Mhm.
That's what planning is doing. Same thing with what we did.
Yeah. I thought it would be more. John Broderick thought of this before me. John's on the planning council.
Yeah, what's their CEO with that?
I know.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Package like this, Steve, my kid, just is the mayor.
Oh, yeah. No, that's what I think, we can have one package that we can give to anybody who's building a new house or a new apartment building or a new
Yeah.
garage or whatever. Could we see that sometime?
Yep, I mean,
Any more fee changes you want to comment on?
No, I'll just say the reason I see the development costs as a loss leader is because talking to builders, the topic that is always brought up is development costs and utility hookup costs. So that's, and utility hookup fees. So to me, that's what you incentivize because that's what all the builders look at.
I'm not hooked up in my other. Tell people. But also because I can't afford. It's unbelievable. Unbelievable, $22,000. Water, sewer, gas, and electricity. But
And I guess in that case, the other thing I'd like to maybe see is a side by side with ourselves, maybe some of our neighboring communities and also the county. What does the county charge for to somebody build a new house in the county? You know, because when you say builders are coming in and say that there's a problem with the development fees, I'm quite sure it's quite a bit higher over there.
I never said it was a problem. I'm saying that when you look at where you want to live, you don't look at the gas and the water and everything else. You look at the taxes, right? People don't look at the big picture. They look at the little details, and it's those details you got to incentivize.
Same time.
Very small.
Smaller hole. I think there is a certain distance you do have to dig down.
When you ask.
If I could go back on the development fees a little bit, just so you know, our contract cost with MMSA is about $94,500 for them to do all this. Plus I do the development, so my time, and I have somebody else that I'm teaching to do development. There's a lot of paperwork to go with it, but I understand where you're coming from. The Superior portion of it, it was actually suggested by them for us to raise our fees because we're one of the lowest.
And yeah, why is the difference in cost? Because if you're getting a plot to put yourself, pardon me? Down the road, Bobby, it's going to be a concern for all of us. I would, mind you, the cremation cost is going to be a lot more, but and I don't.
I did, thank you. In regard to rentals on, oh, this isn't numbered, sorry. In rentals, so we have the Moose Tooth building and the other side of this building. Now, these rates, are these market rates or are they way below market rates?
So in speaking with some of the realtors around town, we are very much below market rates. So this is kind of a gradual progression to try and bring it up to where we should be for market without, yeah. Yes, I am being gentle. Yes, they do. So for the first year, it would be increased by 5% again, like the next year, and then move to 3% for the 2 following years. Correct. Um, right now, our current fee for the Moose Tooth building, upstairs is $1.37 per square foot. And then for the other side of this building, it's $2.60 per square foot. $1.37. No. FCSS gets their room for nothing. That must have been an agreement from previous councils. Nobody, this rate hasn't moved for quite a few years. And this was proposed to increase for January 1, but obviously I'd like to give them notice that their rent is gonna go up, so absolutely.
Yeah, when we're done with the rent discussion, I got one more if we can serve. Yeah, I missed mine, another one. The county is at $1.99 for gas. Is there any argument for us to match them? Dollar, Prairie River Gas, natural gas is $1.99 a gigajoule. And we're at $1.66 on here. We're 30 cents less.
$1.60.
Yeah, we're 40 cents less. So is there an argument to bump it up to match Prairie River Gas Co-op, match the county? Prairie River Gas Co-op is a,
Supplier?
Prairie River Gas Co-op charges $1.99 for their gas. I don't know if they have the $25 flat rate, but they've got $1.99 on their website.
We get letters from the Federation of Gas that tells us how much we have to charge for the gas per month, but we add our $1.60 on top of that for us. So say the Prairie River Gas would do the same thing. they also get that same letter saying they have to charge this much. And then they put the $1.99 on top of it. And I do believe they have a riser cost as well on top of for their bill. And with us putting in that new line too, like,
That's coming up.
I think it's been at this $1.60 for quite a few years as well. I can gather that information to give you an accurate, but as long as I've been here, it's $1.60.
This is what really annoys me about the last 15 years. They haven't looked at the true operation of the town, and they've just let things freeze. And as a result, that's why one of the major reasons we're run down.
One more question, as well as looking back to see what the price increases history's been. And we can also check to see what the provincial regulations are regarding what we can and can't do.
Okay.
I think that's probably important to know. And probably Vern would be a good one to have here on these meetings because he goes a lot of times to the provincial meetings, I think, for the gas. Is that correct?
Okay, let's draw a line under this one. Shanda, is there anything else that you want to bring to our attention? Fees, operating budgets, anything to do with Middleton Dines?
Not at this time.
I'll tell you what, because lurking in the background of all of this, the sports balance.
Yep.
And I've said before that even if we're not the ones that decide the scale of the renewal of the sports ballot, we are the ones that should be laying the financial foundation for this. Because if we don't do it, then the sports ballot will sit there and deteriorate for another 5 years. So, and I've been thinking, and I still think that. I've been perhaps oversimplifying, but seeing our tax increase as a 2+2 package. That the property tax would increase by about 2% to meet the normal operation of the town. And that we would have a bylaw reserve for sports ballot renewal that the other 2% would go into. Not an ordinary reserve like you have on the rosy colored thing. I'd like the idea of the bylaw reserve because it challenges any future council who wants to steal, just to borrow $80,000 from this to do something with it, which is what happened to the provincial heritage fund. At least they have to change a bylaw and then have to give notice and everything. Okay, and I'm just telling you sort of where my mind was going. 2% for basic operating increases, restoring the reserves. We spent, $13.7 million here a few years ago. And then having a bylaw reserve of 2% that's collected, put in the bylaw reserve, and we tell everybody, this is for sports ballot renewal. We don't know what the drawings look like yet, but it would be negligent, I think, of us if we didn't start the financial footing. That's my rant. Anybody who wants to support that is free to talk, the others don't. And, where are you thinking? Because at some point, the CEO wants to get a number down.
Yeah.
And you may as well say what you individually think the number could be. Councilor Ham.
See, and I totally get that we need to do that. But yet, in talking to people, you don't know how many times I've heard in the last couple of weeks, whatever you do, don't raise my taxes. So, it's kind of a dilemma for us.
Get some of that same reaction and to say, if you don't raise taxes, inflation eats your purchase away and that building will collapse. Have no recreation. I see the sports palace as iconic to me. If the sports palace ends, we may as well just have a big amalgamation or merger with them. Anyway, any other comments? Where did you see taxes going?
Can you, and silly question, but property assessments, they're probably going to go up. Where is that built into this budget, into the operating budget? That happens in June, right? Later in the year, no? February?
We
Okay.
do get the assessments usually by the end, towards the end of February. And that, we build that into the mill rate bylaw.
But is it in these?
Well, what you'll see, that's our deficit there. So that's how much I have to increase our property tax revenue to get what we need to do this operating budget.
By the 3.2%, but is that
3.2, yeah.
is that before or after a increase in property values? That's
Yeah.
current assessments.
Or the application.
Okay.
None.
I guess my rough mindset on it, my stance on it is property values go up with inflation, the budget goes up with inflation. There's very rarely an argument to increase the mill rate over and above that, I guess, is my take.
Mhm.
And the multiplex would be one of those rare exceptions to that scenario. But does that make sense?
Yeah, the thing is, yeah, we should be taking that as a factor into account, and that's why I always like to have the final budget passed after we get those assessment values. So when you prepare your bylaw, you can have your actual assessment values in there, and then you know how much extra you need to, because basically the bylaw says we need this much money in revenue for taxes, and then the tax revenue is coming in from, and it'll show it for education tax and everything else, but it'll show in there what the assessment value is and then what the tax mill rate will be on that. So if you keep maintaining the mill rate, yes, it should go adjusted by what the inflation is. The thing is with this town and some other towns, you don't always get the same cost of living increase into your assessment values because housing is such a depressed market in this area. If it's different if you're in Edmonton, and in Edmonton, they get those assessed values increasing and they're still at a 6.9% increase because there's increased services that people are looking for all the time. And that includes things such as the snow removal and the garbage pickup and everything else. The other thing is when we identify what percentage we need for tax implication, part of that is from downloading on us. And, whether it happens to be some of the stuff we know about the policing costs and that, some things we don't even take into account because we got good news that FCSS is a $4,000 increase to the town of High Prairie. But unfortunately, that means we have to also match and put in 20% extra on top of that. So that $4,000 extra to us from the province requires us to put $4,800 into the budget that we didn't have to last year because now there's money coming in from the province on that, correct? So there's a lot of outside implications we have no control over. It has nothing to do with inflation. It's just what the whims of Edmonton is.
That's exactly why I started having Chris at the last meeting and talking to him about the RCMP fight is going on. Heart River is a separate taxing authority. The Department of Education is gouging us. And I know that our CEO and he have been exchanging information. And I'm hoping that the Southeast News will start talking about this.
Yep. So.
But the other thing is, of course, remember that if we, and I go back to my 2+2 pact. This budget is already balanced.
Yeah,
It's already balanced.
the 130.
All we have to do is say, okay, we're not saving as much for those particular capital items like cemeteries into the future. Because those are contributions and we don't even know how much the cemetery's already got in its big thing. And I'm not suggesting it's not a great deal, but that's my point. The budget actually is already balanced. Okay? We're just deciding how much we balance the budget vis-a-vis the reserves.
Mhm.
That's all we're really deciding. People, it's got an internal balancing feature. And I go back to my preferred message for the public. We're doing a 2+2 and we're creating a bylaw reserve for one of those twos.
I wouldn't say a bylaw reserve. Horsepower or recreation center.
No, it's gonna be a bylaw reserve. It's not gonna be an ordinary.
Bylaw
reserve.
reserves means you're putting money aside for a bylaw.
No, I want a bylaw passed for the, for the
The
reserve.
capital reserve.
I don't want future council just to be able to borrow $120,000. You can put whatever time you want on it, sports balance renewal, I don't give a damn. But I want a bylaw.
So let me try to wrap a bow around this. And we'll set the tax rate at 4%. And, we are looking at right now for 2025, we're looking likely that we're going to have a surplus. I'm walking the plank on this one. Be careful. But, no. But we won't know our true results until, kind of mid-March. We'll have an idea what kind of surplus we have. But generally, at the end of the last few years, we've been running a modest surplus of 300,000, I think, last year or 2024. And the other one was 1.8. Yeah. So, and that we throw that into capital reserves also. So if we cap it for the 2026 tax rate at 4%, and whatever we generate in a surplus during 2026, that'll go into the multiplex reserve also.
Yeah, and I want it guarded by angry.
Yeah. Angry dogs it is. Angry birds, isn't that?
No, it's just that I know that the past, whether it was the provincial government with the Heritage Fund.
But that still doesn't eliminate the process for them to be able to do that with, because they can always go in there and rescind the bylaw. But then, I know they have to, but they have a public, yeah.
Bylaw has to be
Yeah.
changed and they have to. +2 for now. We're at least a month away from approval. Think about that. Okay?
But on the needs, their sewer pipe collapsed. They replaced it. They showed me pictures of the old one and they said it's made out of paper.
Yes, the one running down in front of my house is.
So these were put in the 60s, I believe. So how many of these are we going to do? I mean, we replaced all of them?
You talking about the what's going from the sewer line to the house, or stuff from the sewer line to the house is the responsibility of the homeowner, and we didn't put that in there. We have what's going on the street underground. But the connection from there to the house has been whoever built that house, because that in.
The
How
town,
old was the house?
Hmm?
How old is the house?
but on each, that's, that used to be dry cleaners. Right, old pizza factory?
See, a lot of that was done by the town.
Yeah.
I live in the old, what used to be the old Fred Fisher place.
Yeah.
And that was a paper
Really did.
Yes, because it was from, I believe, Manib's property line out to the street.
Yeah.
So that would be ours.
Yeah. That's why when we do some of these street construction, as they do, the engineering goes through there, they'll run cameras down through there, and then they'll recommend. Engineering, they do.
Just a tiny little bit. Very small baby steps.
We received the same letter from two ministers just to drive the point home that they do not want to go further with opening our building here in High Prairie. So what do we want to do? How do we want to approach this? Are we, yeah, this is the third or fourth letter really over the last, since 2024, where they've been negative on this. So are we fighting windmills here, or do we want to continue to advocate? And we certainly can continue to advocate, bring it up with the Minister of Municipal Affairs at the end of March.
Yeah, these letters both came out of the same ministry.
Ministry.
One from the minister, one from the deputy minister, but they're exactly were same wording. And it's not just this building here that I'm concerned of. I'm concerned of everything that happens from this community, comes out of Edmonton. Because I think we're just being further and further pushed back the line, and we're not getting support from the county or the province that we should be getting. It doesn't matter what it happens to be. And so yes, we should be bringing this, but in light of everything else, I don't think they're not going to back off of this. They've already done that. It's a fait accompli. But a chance to get our rants in. I don't know there's much we can do. We can't build the center ourselves because it's not our responsibility, and we'd get hung out to dry if we would. Unfortunately, the politicians should be hung out to dry on this one. I don't even know if they approached anybody in town or medical staff here or whatever. What they based their decision on, other than they said the building was condemned, and based on what was it condemned?
Well, they've heard from the county, they've heard from
Yeah,
the
oh, sure.
previous council,
But
and
there's so many matters that happen from the province that everybody comes back to the mat, and at the end of the day, nothing's happened from the province. And
They have never shared with us what the damages do.
no.
even pictures would be nice.
Any comments? Councilor Temple, what do you think?
I've talked to some people that were on the fire department that fought that fire inside there, and they're saying there's not much damage in the building. The government won't give us no information whatsoever. And I'm disappointed that they spent $11 million whatever Black Fish for a place that was closed. Rebuild it, and now whatever, $6 to $8 million in Grand Prairie. Ship people 2.5, 3 hours away from their community. Over to government side.
Councilor Shunter?
They said they conducted a feasibility study on the building, and I asked for a copy of that study. Did we get anywhere with that? Did we get a copy of that study?
We've never got it, Kenny.
No,
think.
because that study would tell us the extent of the damages, wouldn't it? I would
Yeah.
imagine.
And I wrote whatever email I sent that was sent to me from the ministry. I replied and asked, can we get a tour of the building?
Okay.
And I haven't heard
All right.
anything. Yeah.
Deputy Mayor?
Well, I think it would be to our benefit to keep pushing the issue because, I mean, Lac La Biche is nowhere near us, really. Grand Prairie is 2 hours away. And not only are the youth that were in the center, in the Yak, affected, but we lost a lot of employees because of the closure. So whether they reopen it as Yak or something else, I think they need to invest some money in High Prairie, not Grand Prairie or Lac La Biche.
That's my rant. I've already been thinking about this. If you look at what's happening, and I know I throw Fairview College into there. Fairview College at one point, had certainly over 100 jobs at Fairview. The end of August, those buildings are locked up and the power. All of those are going into Grand Prairie. The government never did consult with us on, they didn't give us any information, didn't give us a chance to provide a counter argument. And I come back to it, the children are going more than 2 hours away because many of the children come from further north. Okay, they don't come from just in town, they come from the county and the settlements and the reserves. And there must have been a dozen good jobs there. Jobs that you get pensions for, jobs you build mortgages on. Victim services, not a big issue. 1.5 jobs, I think, gone. No consultation on that one either. The board, and again, Noel is on the board, they were simply received notice, it's done. Ship your stuff to Grand Prairie. Grand Prairie is basically acting as a black hole that is hollowing out the regional economy. My own feeling is that we don't wait till, what is it, the RMA or that opportunity to meet with Dan Williams. I think we should be trying to meet with Dan Williams this month, as soon as possible. What about that table? I'll invite him, or I'll go to Edmonton. I happen to know Dan since it was just
One other thing is, because we do have a minister assigned, supposed to be looking after us, since we don't have an MLA. Now, that minister also is,
looking after us.
but he's from Grand Prairie,
Made the announcement.
and he's from Grand Prairie.
Yeah, and he's the guy that made the announcement.
Exactly.
If you look at the news column, he's the one who explicitly said, we're moving the 10 beds from High Prairie to Grand Prairie. And to accommodate those 10 beds, Grand Prairie gets $5 million.
Yep.
That came out Friday morning. This was intended to be the document that we would amend by some of the topics that we had on that Tuesday evening. Is that right?
Yes, but also following from the training that councillors got right after the election. So to refresh the strategic priorities or change things just how you would prefer them as a council. I've given you, this is the previous council's strategic priorities, which we're carrying forward, and generally, most of them we'd probably still accept. But I need your thoughts on how you want administration to address this, or are there different action items that council can bring to administration? The one strategic priority, and I've mentioned is number 2, the asset management one. Our managers do know over, the following or the next 3 to 5 years what needs to be replaced, but do we have a 20-year plan? No. There were, I think 2 years ago when this had started, this program had started, I call it a program or initiative had started. There was some training, this was before I arrived, but there's just, nobody has enough time to do a proper asset management report.
This is the kind of thing that you say, okay, we're gonna do it. Now on, all capital items will be added to it. We'll build it year by.
Mhm.
We're not gonna go back and, read part numbers and
No.
stuff on everything around.
Yeah.
And therefore, it isn't a true strategic initiative for council. At least, I don't think it is. It's something that needs to be done for
Mhm.
management to get a good handle on things.
Mhm.
So we don't have 36-year-old snowplows and all of that stuff. But you'd have to hire 2 people
Mhm.
to recapture the past. It's nonsense.
Yeah, you need 1 or 2 people to build this asset management program. And, I've done it for Fort St. John as a chief financial officer. I did it for them. But as a CAO, there's just no way I could devote the time.
This whole thing from asset management was something that was brought down, not just from the provincial, but from the feds anyways, but that goes back to 2008 when I first got here. We had the province come out with lots of training sessions. I remember going to Valley View as a finance officer here and getting this course from Alex Nelson, who was the person at the time. And they had all kinds of things and there was different things done in past, but there's never been enough time provided to staff to do this. And I think this is what we're hearing from David now, is that they got enough on their plate that to do something like this is just not feasible because it's a lot of work. And I'm not sure if there's another help that needs to be brought into it as far as listing all our assets and also come up with an asset replacement plan and that, how long we keep these things for.
And the cost benefit value of this, my managers do have a very good handle what needs to be done. Do we need a 20-year plan? I've been around the block. I don't think so, but it takes a lot of time to develop these asset management plans.
I
You know, one of the jobs you can put in the job jar, as was mentioned on that Tuesday, was the directing administration to go forward with organizing the ability to construct a multiplex facility. I mean, that's a big thing. It's good for our economic development and good for attracting additional revenue and tournaments and families that want to come here and have a beautiful facility. And as expand our summer and winter outdoor facilities also with an outdoor rink, or the basketball court was an excellent addition, and things like that. So I'm an open book, open-minded, how council wants to go forward.
That we can deal with to the end of our term.
Okay.
Actionable. Word.
Okay.
Okay.
Good.
Is that sufficient summary?
Sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
I want to make sure that in this plan that is going to be developed, that our ideas from that Tuesday are included.
That would be.
Down.
Raised by
Downtown parking. So the concern raised was 51st Ave, 52nd Ave, 49th Street, that area downtown along the railroad there. The big trucks that are passing through town, they're not allowed on that road. The RVs that pass through town in the summer months, they don't go down that road. There's no room for them to park. I believe there's a bylaw against the big trucks. And as for the RVs, there's just not enough room for them. So the concern is all of those retail shops down there, they don't benefit from that surge in traffic that we see from the campers over the summer months, and they don't benefit from the truckers that are passing through town because they're not accessible to that group of people. And I raised this issue briefly, and you guys said that the flip side of that is the big trucks on that road would tear the pavement up. And then I kind of dropped it after that. But so whatever you guys want to talk about, yeah. It's three business owners down there that have come to me with the same concern now. I think you spoke to one, but it's not just one person. It's everybody down that street. I've been telling them that, it is on my radar. I've got it on my action list. I've just been waiting for the Deloitte report to come back, and I've kind of grouped it into as a part of an economic development plan. In my mind, part of the economic development plan is going to be a revitalization zone around the downtown area. And part of that is looking at solving the parking issue. But trucks will park along Highway 2 and they will walk down there to buy boots from the clothing stores downtown. They do receive traffic from those trucks, and they believe they'd receive more if those trucks didn't have to walk, if they could park.
The thing of business is location, location, location. And these guys have got themselves a position that's off of the main route. And I'm sorry, but that is your own shortcoming when you picked a location.
They,
for or against. I don't know what the solution is. I don't claim to have an answer, but I'm hoping that an answer comes out of the Deloitte report and this push for economic development that we're going after.